Okay, so I want to, first of all, before I go static, remember I am bridged over here in the player, manage, settings, network, bridged. Got that going. Now, here, how do I go to my networking? I can search for networking, or I can go here to Apple System Settings, and in the System Settings, the control panel comes up, and down here is network. So you can either search up here or just find it in the menu. I'm just so used to finding in the menu, I don't search anymore, but it's okay, do the search. And here I have my Ethernet. It says it's connected, but I want to know what is connected and how it's connected. So I click the I, and I come in here and see that it has on the general settings, limit IP address tracking. I don't care about that, I'll leave it as is. If I want to see what hardware it thinks it has, this has to do with maybe your issues you were having before. And I don't know, did you ever go into hardware and did you see what it thought it had for hardware?
I've never done that before.
It thinks it has a 100 base T device. Notice it's not telling me what kind of device it has. It has these capabilities. And I'm not sure if there's somewhere else you might actually see the information about what it thinks it has for hardware, because it's emulated. What we care most about, though, is TCP/IP and how that is configured. Right now, the typical configuration is using DHCP. I want to, well, if you want to see that it's working first. You see that if you're using DHCP, you should have been given a 172.16 address. That is the settings I know that are being controlled by my firewall, which is also acting as a DHCP server. And just for fun, let me show you where that is. I'm going to connect to the firewall using Firefox, and Firefox is hanging up on me. I'll just connect over here. I'm going to connect to the firewall, which I know to be at 172.16.1.3. Connecting advanced, yes, proceed. Logging in. And going to my services, DHCP. This is the firewall he's running as a DHCP server on his LAN side. And here's all the addresses that it is handing out from 172.16.2.101 all the way out to 172.16.4.250. A large address pool. And here's all the reserved settings for all the PCs. Based on their MAC address, it hands out an IP address assignment. So you are on, let's see, Louisa, you're number 2. This is your MAC address that I checked when we installed your machine. We told this server, when you see that MAC address, hand out to that machine this IP address. And that's your host. Now your VM, if it's bridged, it will show up here as one without a reservation. To see reservations, I go underneath status, DHCP leases. This shows me what machines are out there that either have a reserved connection, and the ones that are in green, and let's see if there's 2 EBs, there are mini Macs out there. Let's see what else, other green ones we have. Here we have another VM. I gave it a name with my name in there so I can tell which ones are mine, and in case something's going bad, they know who to contact. And we should see down here, there's our lab systems that are connected. They have a reservation. And further down, we should see Samuel's Mac. And this may be yours, Lisa, or it may be mine. I'm not sure. I'd have to see what name I've given to my PC. That's how DHCP works. So we have 3 of these. I'm not sure why this one's called pfSense. That might be another machine running out there. I'm not sure why it has that name. That's what makes me a little suspicious. I don't think I'm running a pfSense, but it shows green. It says it's out. Okay, so let's now on our machines, we'd rather not use DHCP. It's very convenient, but sometimes what's happening here is if my machine wants to connect to the internet, I have to depend on another computer, a DHCP server, for my system to work. Sometimes, most of the time that's convenient, but I don't like having to depend on another computer working. I want to just choose my own address to assign to myself. And all I need to know is what my subnet mask is. There it is, 255.255. And what my gateway is. And I know that for DNS, I can use the standard 8.8.8.8s. So I want to manually assign my IP information. All right? This is what you can do with someone that can come on your network. This is what they would do as well. They don't want you to know who they are. They just want to connect and get to the internet through your network. They go to somebody's machine and find out what's the gateway, and I know a DNS I can use. So really all I need to know is the gateway, what is the current network numbers, and I'm going to assign myself an address without waiting for permission and someone to decide or to see me having a reservation. So I can go in here and change this from use DHCP to manual everything. This is, I'm sneaking on the network. I'm not going to expect their server to let me in. That's another advantage of DHCP is we can control who connects to our network. But here's a way for me to get on the network without waiting for permission from or a DHCP server to be configured, or they will detect my reservation and track me down. Now, they still can track me down if I set it statically, but it's a little harder. Now, the first question is, what address can I assign myself? Well, in order to know what address I can assign myself, I need to know just this little thing about the network. Is what are the addresses being used on the current network? And I've shown you already, but let me show you again. Under Services DHCP Server, the pool that he's handing out, 172.16.2.101, all the way out to 172.16.4.250. So if I just go outside of that pool, I'm not likely, or I'm guaranteed not to interfere with anything being handed out by the DHCP server. But there is a problem. I need to make sure that I don't use an address already in use. So I want to assign myself, instead of outside of this pool, I'll assign myself 172.16.5.1, outside of the range of what's being handed out, but it is inside the possible range of my subnet because I remember all my subnetting, and 255.255 means these two numbers have to be the same. Otherwise, these two numbers could be whatever I choose. So how do I know? I'll go back to my Mac. How do I know what to put here? If I want to put 172.16.5 something, say I want to do 172.16.5.1, how do I know whether there might be someone else already on that address?
Ping.
Yeah. So I just go over here. Very good. That was quick of you. I just do a ping 172.16.5. 16.5.1, and nothing answers. Now, does this guarantee there's no one out there on that IP address? What do you think, Louisa? Does this guarantee there's no machine out on IP address 172.16.5.1 if ping does not respond? 50-50 chance of getting it right. Give me a yes or no. Was that a no?
No.
I know, you are correct. And why are you correct now? This is a really good thing to know, because as you get into cybersecurity and network diagnostics, one of the big tools is a thing called Nmap, which first thing it does is let's ping everything on the possible network and see if they respond. But they may not be responding because they don't want people to find out there are, because that's the huge thing in security is first thing the hacker wants to know is who's out there that I can attack. So most machines, like they used to, don't respond to a ping because that's how someone find out they're on the network. So and I think discoverable is more than just answering a ping. It's discoverable, offering more information. So generally, you don't make things discoverable because they can hack in your network and do the reconnaissance. So although it doesn't guarantee there's not someone out there, I'm going to assume that there is not, and I will assign myself that address, and then I'll watch for problems getting to the network. If I see, typically you get a message, duplicate IP address detected, because there are messages from someone at that IP, then you know, oh, I've chosen the wrong address, I can go choose a new address. That's the critical thing when you're assigning yourself an address, is don't accidentally assign yourself an address that is already on the network. Ping is one way to try to see if there's someone there. Or you could choose one address way out of range, 5 dot something is right next to it. Let's go with 5.1. And on yours you can do 2 and you can do 5.3.
172.16.5.2
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, you're 3. Louisa's 2. And I'll be 1 here. So I'm going to choose that right here, 172.16.5.1. Now the subnet mask has to be the same as before, so I leave that alone. The router has to be the same in order for me to get to the internet. And it looks like I don't have to worry about, let's see, let's check DNS. Let's go ahead and do a DNS. DNS I can leave the same as well. So this is a little nicer than a PC, because on a PC, if you go manual, it erases all the settings. On the PC, before you go manual, you have to write down what they are now, and like do an IP config. Under Mac, you can do IF config. It shows you what your settings are on your Ethernet device. Right. Yeah, right here. It shows me what my address is currently. Makes it a little harder to see the other settings like in Windows. IP config under Windows is a little easier to read what settings are. But the important thing is, this is my new address I'm assigning, and I'm keeping all the other information in order to still be able to get to the internet. Now, it doesn't take effect until I click OK. And now, let's do this. I'll do the IF config. IF config. And I see, let's see if I have my new address. I hunt over here and I see, where is it? Where is it? EN0. Where's my new? I don't see my new address. I'm looking for 172.16.5.1. Let's come back in here and see if it's showing that number. TCP/IP. Yeah, it's showing that number. Well, it bugs me that I'm not seeing it here.
So did you just change it?
Yeah, I just changed it. Maybe it takes a while. Let's try the IF config again and see if I see the new number. It's not showing up.
Does that mean that you chose the same one as someone else?
No, it's just bugging me that it's not showing up here. Let's do another thing. Let's just ping www.google.com. I can and I know it responds. Let's see if I can get the ping. Oh, it's timing out. Maybe, I wonder. Did you have a question?
Do you mind if I enter your classroom?
Oh yeah, come on in. Now, it's possible that on my firewall, he's not happy to let anybody through except through the accepted addresses. So I'm going to leave this ping running, and I'm going to come back here and give myself a different address and see. Let's just give myself, I'll give myself an address towards the end of the current pool, and I'm going to play fast and loose here. I'm not even going to ping it. I'm just going to try to change it to 4.200. Way up there in the 4.200s. I know that that's the pool that's available. I'm going to click OK. And see if maybe my firewall is not letting anything through that's beyond its current scope. Start to ping again, and did I spell it wrong? I think I spelled it right. Timeout. Well, now I'm wondering, I haven't done a ping, but I should have done a ping of Google before I change it. I'm going to go back to manual and see if it was ever working. I'm going to switch this back. I'm going back to DHCP and see if it will work now before I go manual. I forgot to do that first. I should have checked that it was working before I made my change. And sure enough, it does work before I made the change. So let's go back and figure out what did I do wrong in trying to give myself a new address. let's see here. In here, I'm going to do a Control-C, quit that, and do ifconfig. Or let's try IP address. That works under Linux. See if that works under. Nope, that doesn't work under Mac. ifconfig. There I see my address right there, right away. There's the address assigned.
Is this before you reverted back then and you checked?
Yeah, I reverted back just to make sure. Hey, does it work the other way? Now let's go back and do that same thing again. Let's try to give me an address. Maybe I'll choose manual, and maybe let's try 172.16. What was I? 2. Let's do 3.100. Everything else left the same. Okay. And he's saying connected. Maybe I have to wait a little bit. Let's try ifconfig. There it shows the 3.100 like it wasn't showing before. So maybe I did something wrong before. There it's happy. Now let's try the ping google.com. Up arrow works usually on the command lines. And look at that. I am getting a ping from Google. So maybe I'm going to go back to the 5.1 now. See, why didn't I like that 5.1? It must, maybe there's a rule on the firewall that it won't let me through if I have a 5.1 on the internal side. So let me change that back to 5.1. Click OK. And oh, now it's working.
Bruh.
There's
That's
what.
weird.
Okay, so I thought 5.1 should have worked. Okay, so now I have assigned myself an address and I can get to the internet. So there's my task number 1. I've assigned myself an IP address. Now, just by going through this practice, I learned about the critical part of how to change network settings. This is something, if you're administrating or helping anyone with their PCs, I don't know, maybe a third of the time it's network connectivity. And going here and knowing how to see your network setting is super important. What the DNS servers are. The Win settings, I hardly pay any attention to that. NetBIOS name is currently being used. I don't have a NetBIOS name. Let me give myself a NetBIOS name, Manning, VM, Mac 13. I did configure mine to be 14, but I'm running Ventura on it, macOS 13. So I'm really happy now. I can now configure my network. So being really familiar with the network. And another thing in network that's super important, if you're doing managing your network, knowing who's on the network, a good thing to know is that number right there. This number here is a unique identifier for every PC on your network. PCs will not work together if there's 2 that share the same MAC address. And so this MAC address is what, when we're registering PCs here at MAS, we register your MAC address. So on our firewall, we know we can give permissions through. If there's issues, we can track down where that's coming from and see that you have a virus or something or malware, or you're doing the wrong kind of things on your PC. So MAC address is super important in the network. So that's the other thing to check and either take a screenshot or just document as you're configuring a machine. If there's ever network forensics, that's the low-level address of your machine. The high-level address, slightly higher level address of your machine is the IP address assigned. Okay? And now, okay, so we have network connectivity, and let's do one more check. Let's just go run our browser to go to our favorite website, mas.edu.
Oh, I thought I was doing. I guess this isn't an Elliott class.
Yeah. And there we go. And one of my other favorite sites, just for fun, just to see as things are working, I will go to speedtest.net. If you're ever doing network diagnostics, especially connectivity to the internet, before you leave that machine, document what speed, and speedtest.net isn't the only one, but it's an easy, nice, quick one. Verify what your speed is. What do you think I should get for speed? 300?
Like gigabits a second?
Yeah. Let's find out.
100.
All depends on the efficiency of my network driver and VMware, my connectivity on my host PC to the network, to the internet. the processor virtualized, and then other traffic on my network. And of course, my firewall is my firewall giving me decent speed. Look at that beautiful speed here at Emmaus Bible College. You want to come here. Great internet speeds at this college. Okay, so that's a great verification. Now, this is something I haven't done yet, so maybe you can help explore with me, but I know the procedure. Let's see if we can get shared desktop. Right now I'm stuck inside the macOS or the VMware window, and I can't get to my desktop any other way. I haven't got the tools in yet. I can't stretch my desktop. I would like to be able to do that. And let's see how we can do that. Let's go to sharing. Where's my sharing? I want to share. Got to learn to share. And I could search for it. I thought it was right here. It's not. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to search for sharing. Am I missing it? I don't see it there. Usually I'd find it.
As far as I know, it's under general. That's where I was.
Okay, let's try general. I like remembering the paths. I feel like guilty trying to do the search, but don't feel guilty about the search. Here it is, sharing underneath general. It's good to remember those paths. Now, what I want to do, and Louisa, you already did it on yours. You enabled remote login. That allows us to putty into my machine. And I just remember now, we want to do the putty first. So we allow remote login. And let's just check information on this. And it just says, allow full access for remote users. Let's check that. And let's allow it for all users. Just have it completely open, and then later on, I might adjust the permissions. And just to make sure they can come in, I'm going to now go to accounts and make sure that we have an account with that name, and that would be underneath. Is that under general? That might be under general too. We have internet accounts, but I want, maybe it's under general. No, it's not under general. Where are users? There we go, users and groups. I'm going to create, I have cs230 as an admin. I'm going to create another user just to make sure, and it wants me to unlock. I'm going to give my wonderful Elliot password. Unlock. Let's create a user. Let's call him AT Manning. Account name AT Manning. Password, I'll make the same one because this is a temporary machine, 311. And I'm going to leave this person to be an unprivileged user, just so I can see whether both the privileged and unprivileged users can get in. Create user, and there I am. Now that I have enabled remote desktop under general, remote login, now I'm going to use putty now to connect to this machine. Using either account should let me through. So I'm going to start up putty. And if you don't have it, it's a free program you can download from the internet. Oh, what am I doing? I don't want to go to the internet to search for putty. Let's do that again. Putty application. Where's my application? Why isn't it finding it? This machine has putty on it. Why is it taking me to... Did they remove putty? Huh. Oh, there it is. Under apps, somehow it was hiding. There we go. So here is putty, the app. And guess what I want to connect to? 172.16.5.1. And I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Manning Mac 13. And I'm going to save that address to go with that name by clicking Save. Now, whenever I look through my list of putties I've connected to, there I see Manning Mac 13. Another nice thing about this, I can actually save the appearance of that window. Like if I like a larger font, I can come over here and change my font size when I use that connection to be a larger or smaller font. So putty has nice features. First time I try now to do and open that connection, I go back to session. I want to open that session to that address. I click open. And the first time I try to open that, I'm going to get this little message that we have not stored or cached that key to that machine. This is a good thing. When you see this, you know you are talking to that machine. In the protocol of SSH, it's handing back its fingerprint that it has. And so then if I ever try to connect to again and I get a different fingerprint, I know that somebody's pretending to be that machine, and I get a warning there might be somebody hacking. So I'm going to go ahead and accept, and now I should have a login prompt. The size of the window is the size of the window I set when I first connected, and I'm going to try to log in as A.T. Manning. And not getting it logged in, just like Louisa was having a problem last time. Why is that? There, that one got me in. I must have typed a bad character. Oh, there we go. Now I'm at the command prompt of the Mac. Lots of powerful things you can do with the command prompt, and this is a great thing to know. This is why it's great to know command line directives, because connecting command line method is a lot faster, a lot less bandwidth, and a lot easier. Putty is a free program, easy to use, and I can do powerful things. But you still have to know command line commands, Unix commands. One of the best commands is uname -a. Show me all the information about who you are, about your machine. And this shows me my kernel name, the version, when it was created, the release, exact release numbers. Lots of other things you can do, and we'll be doing more with command line, especially as we get into Linux. Okay, now that shows me that I can connect to my machine, bridged, and because I'm using the address, this address, I can connect to this machine from anywhere in this lab because we're all on the same network. If I were host only this host could connect to that. And you could do putty to my machine right now if you wanted to as well, because you know the address and you know the login name. And I won't care because I trust you.
Wait, can we more than one person do that at a time?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's another thing about these OSs, unlike Windows. You can have multiple users logging in. It's a really powerful thing. Now, but it's not very graphical. So the next challenge here, see if we can do this in 2 minutes, is to be able to connect through the screen. We want to be able to do screen sharing. So I can click on screen sharing, turn that on a bit, enable that. And now let's go to the information there. How do I do screen sharing? I need to use a program called VNC. And you see right here, it shows VNC:172.16.5.1. So VNC is a program that lets me remote screen share. And I'm going to allow all users to do remote screen share. Let's do computer settings here. And anyone may request permission. And let's allow them to even connect in, even if I'm not there to give them permission on my screen. I'm just going to make a password, and I'll make the same password, 311 IoT exclamation point. So that password will get them in. Now click done, and now let's try connecting, and I'm hoping I do have the VNC program. Let's see if I do have the VNC program. I do have the VNC viewer. This is a free viewer called VNC, and now I put in the address of the server that I want to connect to. That would be 172.16.5.1. Now the Mac doesn't let you do multiple VNC sessions at the same time, sadly. I think you can do a couple. And let's connect. It brings up this little prompt. Okay, you are connected. It's not encrypted. Uh-oh, that does make me a little nervous, but I'll say, okay, I'll accept that, and I'll continue. Now it's asking for who am I connecting at? So I'm going to connect as at A.T. Manning, and that same password, 311 IoT exclamation point. And I'm going to play fast and loose. Remember my password because I'm in a lab and it's just temporary or testing, and it's not letting me through. Error log. Let's check my error log. So sad that didn't let me through. It's taking me back to authentication. Let me try that again. 311. Maybe I was just typing too fast. I did fail once on the other login, so I know the login works. Set to remember, okay. And it looks like it's letting me in this time. And look at this. I have now a remote desktop into my machine, and I think it's still thinking here. Let's see if it's asking for permission over here. It's not asking for any permission because I said let them in with the password. And if it's all working properly, I should be seeing. Why do I have? Oh, why do I have 2 viewers up? Oh, that's the master viewer. This is the view into my machine. It's supposed to be showing me a screen, and maybe it's just slow because I'm connecting to a VM. I don't think this should be a heavy load on my machine. Let's come over here. Oh, there it comes. There it comes.
Wow.
Look at that. So I have a remote desktop. Let's see if it's, what's it saying here? Is it going to kick off my other? No, I'm not going to worry about that. It is a little slow. So it looks like a remote screensaver either is hard on the network traffic or demanding of the CPU. Let me see if I can tell how the CPU is doing. I'm going to do a Control-C on the continuous ping and run the program called top. Very nice program. Shows you, like a task manager, what are the top processes running. And I think if I do, it's showing me the top CPU, percent CPU. I'm not using a huge percentage of CPU there in that third column. So I'm not sure why this is slow responding. It may just be screen sharing. It may be VMware. No, I don't want to sign up later. It's acting as though this is my first connection, and yeah, this is my first login with the ATM. That's why it's asking me all this stuff. Maybe it'll be better performance once I'm in. So we've done putty and we've done screen sharing, and once I'm connected, I'm going to try to adjust my screen size. I think I can have a little more flexibility with that connection and in the screen. But if maybe it's feeling like it's going to be really slow response time, even though I might have better screen capabilities. And notice it hasn't kicked this screen off. It's allowing multiple users to be connected to the same machine, even with graphical interface. I was expecting this one to say someone else is connecting, I'm going to disconnect you, like we see in Windows Remote Desktop. We'll stop there because it's out of time here on a fine Friday afternoon. I'm going to stop the recording. I'll upload this for your enjoyment.